So guys, the Mortal Kombat 2 movie is coming out in a couple months, and we recently got a new trailer. Now, I am a massive Mortal Kombat fan, as any long-term viewer on the channel could tell you, and I figured that it really should be my place to share my impression of a lot of scenes from this trailer, so let's watch it together, and I'm going to assume you've seen it already because I am going to consistently stop the trailer to talk about certain things. This is Rail Deal Games, and today, let's just look at this together and talk about where I think this film could go, and the things that I think it's getting right, but also some of my concerns as a long-time, very lore-prized fan. Starting out here with this very first frame, this is very much a Johnny Cage that is washed up, which made him sympathetic in the 1995 film, and I kind of like this. This is a really good way to start out the trailer, and let's go ahead and just roll it now.
You want to know what makes a hero? It's not.
I want to stop here because one of the very first things I noticed is that this particular chair here reminds me a lot of the chair that's in the endings of Melina, Kitana, and Baraka for MK4 and MK Gold. And I also think that this is very likely an intentional reference here with this particular chair. That does make me wonder if this film is going to veer in the MK4 direction at times. Battle of the Realms, or Battle for the Realms, or whatever the title of that animated movie was, kind of treated it like the MK2 storyline was going to be the main thing, but then really that was only half the film, and it really rushed through the Shinnok plotline right afterwards. The inclusion of this chair here does make me slightly concerned that that might happen again. It could also be that they will just lay the foundations for Shinnok and that consequence, or it could also just be a fun Easter egg. We'll have to see when the film comes out, but there are a couple other things that really made me think that we might see some MK4 Shinnok stuff being at least dropped here in this film, if not being a big part of the film itself. And I forgot to mention this earlier, guys, but if at any point the trailer here is just dead silent, it's because it got flagged as a copyright claim, and I'm just going to silence those parts where that happens, so if the sound ever disappears, that's what happened there. But with that, let's go ahead and continue here.
Destiny. It's not something you're born with. It's searching for greatness.
Johnny Cage, you have been chosen for Mortal Kombat.
Then realizing you've had it in you this entire time.
Whoa! I really don't feel comfortable hitting a girl.
Don't worry. You won't.
This right here really feels like it's the establishing of a isekai or picaresque type framework for Johnny Cage to be the character that introduces us to Outworld Edenia and all that whole side of Mortal Kombat's mythos. To me, it's kind of strange that we would need this type of setup again, since that was the whole point of Cole in the first movie. But the first movie really did not establish Mortal Kombat lore pretty much at all. Borderline was hardly a Mortal Kombat movie beyond the gore and some of the framing networks and the characters, of course. So I can actually see why such a character would be necessary again. And really the question at this point is, why didn't they just do that the first time? Johnny Cage is, as a character, is like perfectly made for this role, to allow us to follow him through his introduction to this other world. I mean, that's why MK9 starts you out with Johnny Cage. That's part of the reason I think NRS made him such a big thing as kind of the main character of the series for at least what felt like MK9, MKX, and MK11 to some degree. So I do like how Cage is going to be the main character here, but I really do hope that this setting up of the lore and the worlds and stuff like that is not a major point of the film. And that's mainly because we kind of already went through this, didn't we? I really just hope that this is not a big part of the movie.
Yo, send me back. I want to go back.
The rules of the tournament are simple. Our fates would not be settled by the size of our armies.
So I want to talk real quick about
By the size of our armies.
these. Let me find them again. These things right here. So these, I don't know what these are, these lights, but the first thing I personally thought of were Kamidogu, but looking at them a little bit closer here, I'm not really seeing them as that anymore. Instead, what I think they could represent is maybe the ritual or a representation of the MK2 Outworld tournament, the one that was one tournament to rule them all. You see that there's 10 of these things here, and that could reference the 10 victories in Mortal Kombat that a side needs to attain in order to merge the realms. So I could see this as maybe them dissolving this element of the tournaments, and I have not seen the 2021 film in a while. I don't remember if they explained this particular part of the lore that well in that movie. As a general rule, I was not a fan of that movie, so that's one I definitely want to rewatch before this particular film comes out, because this is going to be a sequel to that 2021 movie, and there were definitely deviations in the lore from that film, and this could definitely be a continuation of that here. I do want to say that I think MK2 has the possibility, at least, of being a much better film than MK 2021, because it has some of the cooler parts of the lore that, at least at a minimum, there could be some cool spectacle in this particular movie that the 2021 film just did not have. 2021, in my particular opinion, was kind of a mess of a movie, and at least in this particular one, we're getting Outworld, we're getting Shao Kahn, we're getting the potential for some really cool fights, which at the end of the day, as long as there's some cool choreography, characters are getting some love, I can at least like the viewing experience for one single watch in that particular case. But I think what really determines whether a film is good or not is how rewatchable it is. Some films are good to watch once and you're kind of good on them, but I think what really gets you to appreciate a film is something that you watch a second time and get something more out of it, which is not my experience with MK 2021, but it is my experience with MK 1995. And so if this film can be more like 1995 in that particular regard than 2021, that will actually be an amazing thing for this film to do.
Our fates would not be settled by the size of our armies.
The fact that she says that line right there kind of makes me think that that represents the 10 victories of Mortal Kombat. And I also wanted to stop here because this is an amazing rendition of this stage. I think this is the Outworld portal stage from MK2. This looks great. It could also just be where they warp into Outworld at the beginning of the movie, or, you know, after Cage is brought in, at least, into the film. I also noticed that some of this stuff kind of reminds me of the Sky Temple from Mortal Kombat Deception a little bit. These two pillars on the side here, like this one and this one. I doubt that's what this actually is, but architecturally speaking, with the fact that it has this kind of almost like this pagoda look to it, with this platform at the top, does make me, kind of reminds me of the Sky Temple from those games a little bit.
Decided by combat.
So I wanted to stop here because Kung Lao died in 2021's film, and this makes me really kind of re-solidifies me in my position that I think we're going to see Quan Chi or Shinnok, or at least the Brotherhood of Shadow, being introduced in this film, because his return would presumably mean that he's a revenant, which really is what they did. I mean, let's take a second and look at this clip from MK9 when Raiden goes to the Netherrealm.
You seek an audience.
I seek cooperation between Earthrealm and the Netherrealm.
Losing the battle, are you?
We will prevail, but with the Netherrealm fighting at our side.
You lie poorly, Raiden. Earthrealm's defenses are overwhelmed. You have mere hours.
Name your terms.
What do you offer?
I offer the souls of Earthrealm warriors who die in this conflict. They would agree.
You are a cavalier with other men's souls.
Not just others! I offer my own soul as well. If I die, you will have it.
How noble, Raiden. Yet utterly pointless.
No!
You see, their souls are already mine. Shao Kahn's payment for Netherrealm's allegiance.
No! This was not meant to be.
Earthrealm has lost, Raiden. Now so shall you.
So the reason why I showed this clip in regards to Kung Lao here is because this is a plot point directly pulled from MK9. The idea of Shao Kahn offering the souls of every warrior who is slain to the Netherrealm. I do wonder if they're going to implement this particular trade in the film. This is pure speculation, but that's just what I think seeing Kung Lao return in the movie. And I don't really think that that would be a bad idea if they're trying to really set up a cinematic universe here. This is not the approach that I personally would have taken, which maybe I'll make a video at some point of how I think an MK cinematic universe should go, because I really do think this is a property that should be able to create a very successful set of trilogies that would really be something truly special within the film space and a true representation of just the quite fantastic story that this particular series has.
I'm not some great warrior. I'm not some champion.
This is a war for the fate of your world.
So, there's a few things I want to talk about just from the clip that we just watched here. One, we get to see Jax and Jade are going to fight. Jax is getting a real role in this particular movie. In the previous one, it was a lot about how does he get his arms, which I felt was way more complicated than it needed to be in MK 2021. But we do know that he's going to fight, which is amazing. I really love to be able to see that. And I also want to talk about the frame that I've stopped on right here. So, we can see on Shao Kahn's arm, and presumably this is Shao Kahn here, that he has that kind of scaly skin that they make him as a character have starting with MK11 forward. So we can see that he's very much this human non-human, which is a relatively new take on the character, one that I don't personally think is necessary, but we can see that that's being established here. And so there's definitely going to be NRS type ideas in the film, and that's why I think this also adds credence to the idea that they might be taking elements of MK9 there.
Finish him!
Me?
So right there, we just a second ago got to see Kano lose an eye, so he's going to be getting his very infamous cybernetic eye. We can see that right here. I think that's cool. I don't know if he's going to survive this movie. I don't know if he should survive this movie because I don't know what their plans for the long-termness of the series is. But he was kind of the standout character of MK 2021. I was not a big fan of that movie. I really, really did not like it. But if there was one thing I did like about it, it was the portrayal of Kano. I thought that was quite fun. So I hope he sticks around, and I'm happy that they're making him more like the character from the games. Here also in this particular frame, we see that the Noob Saibot here has the MK11 like hook knives. So, and some of the design kind of reminds me of MK11's Noob Saibot. So, considering the fact that this particular film is a direct sequel to the 2021 movie, that movie preceded MK1. So, I think honestly that they're probably going to be basing a lot of character design ideas off of MK11, X, and 9 over anything else, just because, at least within the production timeline of this film, that's probably what they had to work with at the time for building costumes and stuff like that. That's pure speculation on my part, but it is very interesting how this is very much an MK11 design for Noob Saibot here.
Earth belongs to me.
We see that this is Sonya versus Sindel, I believe. I don't know who else would be making a sonic blast attack of some kind, although it's kind of hard to tell because this really does not look like Sindel at all, this character right here. But this is absolutely Sonya. We're seeing at least that she's getting her projectiles, which have never really did not appear in the original iterations of Mortal Kombat within film. So it's really cool that she's getting those. It would be interesting to see her fight Sindel, and this is very clearly potentially at the bottom of the pit is what this looks like to me. So it could be that Sonya is thrown down there and she has to fight somebody, and who knows, this could end up being someone else too.
We do not kneel!
That's very clearly going to be Kitana building up a resistance to Shao Kahn. This here is very interesting as well with, I think that's Shang Tsung if my memory is correct, and that looks to be Quan Chi's amulet, which again just adds credence that they're going to possibly build up some of the MK4 aspects of the plot. It looks like they're trying to absorb Raiden into the amulet, so this is going to be something I'm going to talk about here again in a bit, because it is very possible that this trailer shows us the end of the Shao Kahn section of the plot line already, and that's something I want to talk about here in a second too.
Our only chance is to face this together.
Let's go, baby.
So right here, this is very clearly Liu Kang versus Shao Kahn. That's a lot of fire. Shao Kahn, I believe, is going to survive this particular strike here, but he is actually going to show up again within this particular context, and this is again going to be something that I think makes this much more like Battle of the Realms, or Battle for the Realms, than what I would call a proper establishing of Mortal Kombat as a cinematic universe.
You, Johnny Cage, are a part of this now.
And we got to see there that Kano did get his eye. He does get his eye blast power there. We see that Sonya and Liu Kang are going to fight Shao Kahn at some point. I don't know if this is going to precede the fight between Liu Kang and Shao Kahn solo, or if this is a whole other scene entirely. But they are definitely going to at least establish him as quite a strong character and quite a threat. Now, the other part where Shao Kahn shows up is right here. Right here. That's Shao Kahn right there. This is the throne room that we saw before. Or I believe this is Shao Kahn. This maybe is not Shao Kahn, but that looks like his helmet to me. This looks like the throne room in which that we saw the big flame a second ago. And we can see that Liu Kang is burning whoever this is. Their head will clean off. So I don't know if this is actually going to be how Shao Kahn dies. I don't know if that's Shao Kahn. But considering the clues I think we've seen here or there, that this might include Shinnok, it might include that Netherrealm section of the plot, I think it is possible that Shao Kahn will be killed halfway through the film and then replaced with Shinnok as a secret second villain. I mean, we have to remember that people watching this are not necessarily going to be massive Mortal Kombat fans like you or I watching this trailer, so they could be surprised by having some kind of outer evil god manipulating events from behind the scenes, which is a consistent thing we've seen in Mortal Kombat. However, I think that this is it should not happen, and I really do hope that this is not the direction the movie goes in. Battle for the Realms, I felt, had a lot of good things going for it, but the point where Battle for the Realms sucks is when the Shao Kahn section of the plot disappears. I don't know what it is with NRS. I don't know what it is with all of these film iterations, but they completely seem like they are just like, they treat MK3 as this thing that they just cannot do. Shao Kahn should be a villain for a while. He was a villain for 2 games in a row. He should not die in the middle of a movie. So, I don't know if that's going to happen. I hope I'm reading way too much into this particular frame here, but it is something they have done before, and I think it is something that we should at least prepare to see whenever the film comes out.
It's showtime.
Now, I want to talk about Carl Urban as Johnny Cage. I think as an older, washed-up Johnny Cage, Carl Urban is fantastic for the role. I'm excited to see how he takes the character. Carl Urban's always been kind of a sub, like a supporting actor type actor. I mean, he played in Lord of the Rings. He was a main character in Doom. He's played in a lot of different roles, right? And every time I've seen Carl Urban, I've really enjoyed him. But he's definitely not like a top of the line actor in terms of range and stuff like that. So I am curious to see how he's going to portray Cage. Cage is a character that does see significant character growth. I don't think range is going to be necessary for the character, and I do think Carl could do a wonderful job with him. So I'm excited to see what he does. But Cage is kind of a tricky character, and it is going to be very, very difficult to beat the 1995 portrayal of him.
Get over here!
So that fight between Scorpion and Noob, like, I understand why they're doing this, but there's actually never been a rivalry between Scorpion and Noob within the games. It was always a rivalry between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, the living Noob Saibot, and then also his younger brother. So this, once again, makes me think that we're going to be going to the Netherrealm, because this looks like the Netherrealm to me, actually. And you can see that Jade and Kano here seem to be teaming up against Noob Saibot. Why would Kano team up with the heroes of the story? Why would Jade turn against the Emperor? Well, what if the Emperor was dead and the choice was the complete erasure of all the realms because Shinnok is insane and he wants to resurrect the One Being so that the One Being can eat all of reality and also all of the Elder Gods, leaving just him in a universe with nobody alive? Well, Kano probably wouldn't go for that, would he? So this really makes me think, once again, that we might be building up into that. I mean, if they were truly courageous, we would be building up into Onaga being the primary villain, but let's be real with ourselves here. NRS does not like the 3D era. They have never really given the 3D era their proper time in the sun in it ever since that ended. I mean, the 3D era ended like 20 years ago, and how much of that have we seen in the past 20 years? Not a lot. It's always MKs 1 through 4. Well, sorry, it's always MKs 1, 2, and 4, because 3 gets skipped over all the time as well. And I think this is kind of the wrong approach for this, because a lot of the best lore from Mortal Kombat comes from the 3D era. So I think if you're really going to build a film franchise, you could do some amazing stuff with it. But you need to give the 3D era its due, because a lot of the greatest world building and a lot of the greatest political ideas, like inter-realm politics, it comes from the 3D era, and it also comes from MKX, but I don't really know if the writers know that. I don't really know if NRS wants that to be the portrayal of the series, and so I am expecting to actually be very disappointed with this film, but I am also expecting the film to be better than the first one. It's just that the first one was so bad in my opinion. It was not a good movie. So even if this is like a 6 out of 10, that's fun from the kind of like choreography perspective and just being able to really get your heart pumping with some cool fights. If it's that, it's better than the 2021 movie, but still not good on its own, and I want to be very clear about that. I'm gonna watch the movie because there's no way I could pass up on watching something like this, but I am coming in with some very, very bad expectations of where they're gonna go with this. So you hear them doing Techno Syndrome right there. If there is one unifying sound for Mortal Kombat, it is Techno Syndrome. The series should have leaned into Techno Syndrome ever since that was composed. It should have been like the prelude for Final Fantasy. You know, each Final Fantasy game does their take on the prelude theme, and every single game has it. I think every single Mortal Kombat game should have had their take on Techno Syndrome and made it match the vibes of the particular game, kind of like how Final Fantasy did with Prelude. They never did that. It's kind of a big, I think, a big missed opportunity. So I'm happy to see that we're getting some Techno Syndrome love again. Although, I do have to say, I do not like this particular iteration of Techno Syndrome.
Johnny will definitely die.
So that's the trailer, guys, and I'm left with the impression that we are going to see perhaps a 50-50 view of MK2 and MK4. I think they're going to maybe skip over MK3 again. I feel like they are going to kill off Shao Kahn way too early. Interest these days seems to favor Shang Tsung as the primary villain over Shao Kahn, which is not the way it was in MKs 1 through 4. But I actually do expect for them to treat Shao Kahn like a jobber almost in the movie, build him up as this big threat, but then kill him off way too soon and replace him with Shinnok as a primary villain, or at least something else. And I think this is the wrong direction for this film to take. If anything, I think this film should have done what the ending of MK9 does.
Your plan worked to perfection, Lord Shinnok.
Shao Kahn was blinded by rage. How easily he was convinced that the Elder Gods would ignore his merging the realms.
Yet the Thunder God still lives.
No matter. Neither Earthrealm nor Outworld can now withstand the Netherrealm's onslaught.
This was such a cool way to end MK9. It really set up what MKX could have been. This is what I think MK2's movie maybe should have ended on, maybe lay the foundation for this next section of the plot, but not actually go this direction, and I am really scared that they're going to. But with that, guys, I want to throw it back to all of you. What do you think? Are you excited for MK2 following that trailer? Is there something that I didn't discuss that you wish I would have? What's something you noticed about the trailer? Let's talk about this film in the comments below, and I am definitely going to be making a video about MK2 when it comes out. That 100% is going to happen, so if you do want to hear my impressions in the future, you'll want to subscribe. This is a variety gaming channel first and foremost, though, so in the meantime, you're going to be seeing some things about MK1992. I've got 2 videos that I've made for that should be coming out in the next couple weeks. There's going to be some Resident Evil Requiem stuff in the future, Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, and things of that nature. So if any of that piques your interest, make sure you stick around and check out some of my other and future work. Regardless of what you choose to do, thank you for keeping it real with Real Deal Games today, guys, and I hope you all have an awesome day.